start. Yeah, mad love for Benicia High School. Yeah. My niece graduated from here, and my nephew currently goes here.
All right.
Drops up my corner out every single time she's in the audience. My high school drama teacher is your middle school drama teacher's wife. She's a big part of what I do. Big part of what I do. Go.
Any questions, right?
Yes. You have any questions? Yes. Either one of you, your friends, you choose. Yeah, brothers.
Yeah. What do you think Mortimer did?
What I think Mortimer did when he went back to his friends, I think Mortimer was questioning his beliefs pretty seriously at that point. And so he would change probably, depending.
Good question.
We like to leave some things a little open-ended sometimes, and so we don't know for sure. I think the feeling is maybe he learned something about himself, but we don't know for sure.
Well, like it was too uncomfortable to be asking the questions. We just had to get out of here for a little bit. That's what I figured. Like, it's not much to go for a while.
Yeah, I was thinking, I asked that question, I was thinking about somebody when I was excited. And actually, it's funny, the reason I asked that, there was a famous anthropologist, you probably never heard of him, but in the 50s, I think, when you really couldn't be out, right? And he said, he was gay, and he said, your sexuality is not who you have sex with until you fantasize about it, which was a big revelation at the time. He got in a lot of trouble. He got fired and everything. He was great. And
He was so good.
I always thought, what a brilliant thing to think. Of course, in your own private life, you're yourself, but then society makes you do other stuff. And so that question came directly from him, actually, from remembering that. Yes, over here.
You make your improv so like cinematic, really special. How do you guys make it, like you're so good with that, how do you make it like that? Like, your past experiences or so like good?
I think one of the things that we all share is being, we're actors, we're all actors, and so we don't consider ourselves comedians. I think that there's a really easy on-ramp to comedy through improv, and I think one of the things that we all really like is that improv can be anything, and we're really committed to figuring out who we are and then like sinking into that character, responding in the way that they would, and that means sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not, and most of the time it's a mix of the two. And that as long as we're sort of like staying with each other and truthfully in the moment, and we've all found that we're interested in doing that kind of improv. And I think that's like a huge part of the game is finding the people who want to do the kind of improv you want to do. And if that's comedy, find the people who want to do comedy the way you do. And if it's not, find the, you just gotta find the people who match your aspirations.
And I think someone at Bayer News Sports that said a great actor and a great improviser is someone who has great experiences. And like, they're living life. Who live life. Like, to be honest with you, a lot of that story I told on stage, I was like, based on a true story. Like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to be cathartic.
Speaking of cinematic, this is just one format we do this stage, but many of the long forms we do are more like movies. They're very cinematic because we play multiple characters and we jump through time and locations like a movie does with a lot of shorter things. If we come back sometime, we should probably do an improvised movie.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference. But that's extremely cinematic in its structure. Yes?
How do you know it's the right time to enter scene or leave the scene?
Ha-ha, you don't. Yeah. You have to trust your instincts.
It's like training. Don't trust your instincts. Yeah. I feel like there is this like listening for the sort of the music or the shape of a scene or a moment that's happening on stage, and you're like, are they sort of done, or is there a moment, like, it could be any number of things that are happening on stage that says it's the right time to come on, but it's like a rhythmic, the sound of a scene, almost.
And knowing a character, if Lisa gets out there first, and then another character comes on before me, I want to learn more about their character before I can help them with something else, or endow something else.
I kind of want to handle what's on stage
Yeah.
before adding anything to it, or shifting the dynamic. Usually the specific combination of people on stage at any given time have something to do there together. So you want to let it happen before you change it.
Yeah, I think in this format too, you don't want to be timid about interrupting. It's fine to interrupt. If you feel like the energetic shift is to interrupt, go ahead and do it, because they can always come back to where they were in the conversation, and you got to trust the energy shift that you're creating by either leaving or coming in.
Yeah, I think of it as timing.
Yeah.
If I'm, like, as an audience member, or I'm in a scene, it's like I'm starting to get a little bored. You know, like timing-wise, what needs to happen next? Something needs to happen, right? And maybe it's time for me to leave, or maybe it's time for me to say something. But it feels like timing, not timing like being funny, but timing of, oh, we're just getting, it's just like, oh, what I say is like we're spinning our wheels. People are doing the same thing over and over again. Let's mix it up.
I'm glad you said it about like not doing it for the laugh, because it's a muscle that I've had to exercise. When I'm off stage and I hear laughter, the performer brain is like, get out there, man, get out there. Don't laugh. But years of improvising and taking care of my fellow improviser, it's not my laugh. It's not my turn yet. What do they need help? What do I need to help?
Yeah, we have a lot of hands up. Let's see. I think I saw yours next. Yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning, you got a lot of suggestions for areas of the stage and sort of like props and things that exist. Do you have any like, I guess tips or like specific ways that you all make sure you remember all of them and agree on them and what they are?
Well, we do all that in front of you. And so we in this format, it's really explicit. We say it and then we review it. And then at intermission, we're like, is there anything we haven't talked about? Like, is there anything we haven't touched or dealt with? And so we'll try to deal with it, because it's sort of like a promise at the beginning that that all these things are going to come into play at some point. But when we're not doing this format, we're just trying desperately to pay attention.
Pay attention, yeah.
To what gets established, and we make a lot of mistakes, but we're always trying, like space object work is the work for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
where are things, and how can I'm being more impeccable about envisioning a location.
You're so astounding at that, by the way.
Yes.
All of that.
Hot stickers.
Yeah, hot stickers.
We're good!
Thank you.
As soon as they said it, I was like, oh.
I saw someone up at, we're gonna, let's try to be brief so we can answer as many as we can. I think I saw you, and then I know I saw you down here. Go ahead.
So, sorry, tech guy, what's your name again?
Remy.
Remy. How did you find work with, like, doing tech for one specific group?
That's a super good question. Getting involved with this group came out of stage management for them, which Ben Johnson pulled me in for. He's in New York now, but he pulled me into stage management for them. I've done tech theater my whole life, but I've also done improv for decades as well. This is the best group in the country, if not world, like no question. Like I'm so delighted to work with them. And I will say, working with you all has caused me to elevate my craft in a way that I never would have otherwise. Like needing to do things for these shows has gotten me to do things that I don't think were being done before, and forced me to really develop the skills to do that. So it was very developmental, also being willing to grow in that way.
Yeah, he's a huge part, I think, of our success over the years. Yes.
What got all of you to
I was an actor. When I saw improv, I really liked it. I started to do it.
High school. I was on my high school improv team. My friends were in improv, and they were like, "You should do this." And I was like,
later, and we'll also try to get to your questions real quick. Okay.
Since it's a topic usually danced around in comedy, how do you guys feel about religion? Religion taking a main focus during the season?
Fine. We don't avoid subject matter in general. We trust each other's taste level, I think, enough to know we can deal with it.
And we try to treat everything really respectfully. And so it doesn't ever feel like, yeah.
Yeah, you want to honor it, not make fun of it, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like this was a kid, it was just like, yeah, a kid of faith.
I wanted to remember, too, a Mormon who's in that position, a young Mormon kid or something. Like, you know, it depends on where you grow up, right? And what era, and who teaches you what. Yeah, I think Mormonism is ridiculous myself. But I don't want to make fun of that character, you know. And they might be a great person. Yes.
In a format like this, how do you go about, like Mortimer, how do you go about playing a character who has no relation to any of the other, you only have 4 actors up there, and how do you go about playing a character that has no relation?
The reason I wanted to start doing Naked Stage is we were already doing some plays, formats in improv that were mostly about families. And I'm very attracted as an improviser to scenes with strangers too. I like that a lot. And it was to do something different where we might know each other or we might not. We've even done shows where none of the people know each other, a few. And it's a fun challenge. You know, you just have to work on it a little bit, like what makes it work. One thing that makes it work is either way, whether you know people or not as your characters, be curious about them. Don't look for conflict. You can see we're not looking for a lot of conflict. And that really helps this format go forward. Anyone else? We good? Pick somebody. I feel bad. Did you hear that? How do you know when to switch from comedic to grounded? I don't think, hopefully we're not thinking like that. We're just developing what's in front of us, and some of it's funny and some of it's not.
Like life.
Yeah, hopefully.
You know what I mean? Like you're in life, and sometimes you're in like lighthearted conversations, and sometimes they're more serious, and there's not a conscious choice where you're like, now I will enter my serious conversation. But if you find yourself in a serious conversation, you're like, I better play this moment.
And I think part of it is also, we all have a shared sensibility around what stagecraft and what playwriting is like, because we all have a lot of experience in different elements of it. And that sort of developing that shared sensibility makes it easy, I think, for casts to paint something like that.
My question is about like having 3 acts and wanting to tell a story. And do you have anything that needs to be part of Act 1, Part 2, Part 3? Do you need to get to a resolution? Like, what needs to happen for you guys for it to be
No, we
successful?
don't have any structure. I don't want structure.
No structure.
No.
No, the thing we say at the beginning, the things that need to happen, listen and respond, have fun, and connect.
Know what you want.
Know what you want.
Your character.
We know some things that help us, allow us to get to know characters and
Yeah.
but we don't have any signposts. We don't improvise like that in general. I know people do, but we don't.
Right here. Yeah.
What are some of your go-to ways to, if a scene is kind of starting to really get off track and maybe the other actors who don't really noticing, what are your go-to ways to try and maybe get a scene just back kind of moving?
Realize that if the scene is going somewhere, that's where it's going, and it's not your job to fix it. Your job is to play it.
Agreed. Getting in a mindset about fixing or saving scenes is very dangerous.
Because it says, oh, I know how this scene ought to go, and nobody else gets it. And I think in that moment, you are playing the scene in your head and not the scene that's on stage. But our job as improvisers is to be like, what is here? It's not to wrestle it back into the match the scene in your head, you know? And that is like the hardest job in improv, is to get out of the scene in your head.
That being said, a lot of experience gives you a lot of tools on revitalizing the scene or ending the scene.
Yeah.
So that is true. But yeah, I wouldn't have that mindset in general. You know, you go
brother?
Let's keep it going.
So I was kind of on top of like pacing dialogue. I know you guys talk really kind of slow. As soon as you go to you talk very fast.
I haven't seen you in public.
But I believe it.
We know.
I believe it.
Yeah. but like, do you ever switch that up? Like, I know it's long forms, but you're not putting them on.
Drag on.
Mission accomplished.
You should teach a class of teaching people how to talk to performers.
No, it's fine. It's fine, Dad. I know.
Yes, the characters have different speeds with which they talk and stuff. But in general, in improv, everything, what's going to help you do better space object work, what's better motion, better relationship, better everything is slow down. So even if your character's fast, you want your improviser to be slower. Going fast is just like when you're in a car going 60 miles an hour, you don't see the scenery. And when you're walking through it, you see it. So going slower is good. It doesn't mean we should go slow. Characters are very different. Fast talking characters. Tonight we may have been a little too similar, though it's interesting, something to look at. The pace of the dialogue is a very interesting question. Yes? Is there a certain shtick we fall into? We try not to.
But like, there's definitely characters where if I'm not thinking about it, man, that nice Midwestern lady comes out a lot. And so I have to really. This is a character I don't play very often.
I usually play.
But I played that Midwestern lady last night.
Yeah, that's right.
But I played that Midwestern lady kind of last night, you know? So it's like, we try to notice patterns and break them.
Yes, try to.
Let's pick three more. Three more.
Okay, I know you've had your hand up a long time.
So if someone is like either behind the curtain or with a big like drop thing in front, how do you like know what's going on the other side, or if you're like back there? How do you understand? Like,
You want good sidelines.
okay.
Yeah.
But if you're off stage, like how do you come in with like knowing everything that you're going?
We try to stand somewhere where we can see.
See it and hear it.
Really listen. It's hard if you can't see. It's like really hard if you can't see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm not in front. Like I was out more than I think I usually am because I was like, I can't hear you. Just find a reason to stay on stage, so I know what's.
Yeah, because it's tough. There's not good back. Here we go.
Yeah, you gotta hear and see it.
Here we go.
So I love sound design and just how quickly we're able to pull up these crazy sound effects. We have like a library of music sound effects we pull from.
Tell them what you're doing during the show.
Yeah,
Like,
so-
what's your process during the show?
Yeah, this will be a quick answer too, since we're compressed on time, because this is an easy thing to describe. So I have a huge library, which is sort of intriguingly not well sorted. Because like the sounds for this machine were like 5 or 6 different machine sounds layered together in a way where we can't be close to the sound I wanted. Like I can't tag that on iTunes or something to get to that. So I've got the encyclopedic knowledge of that sound library, but it still sometimes surprises me. And what Tim is alluding to is sometimes during shows I will be pulling down new things from the library, especially if the cast has made like what I sometimes call like a called shot for a specific song or a type of song or a thing that's happening on stage that I don't have. I'll go grab it, and I'll sometimes try to layer what I'm grabbing to guess where they're going. A lot of the design process is not just about having sort of those colors to pick from, but figuring out how to layer them together. I do a lot of soundscape design during the shows, not just single sound effects, and then like some automation stuff that I build in while it's going. So like that machine was something that could turn on, run for a while, things could change and turn off. And it's like during one of the reasons I love that you guys talk about what's on stage after you're done is Mark. As soon as you put this on stage, I spent like 3 minutes during the top of the show building possible sound effects for that, because all of a sudden it's like, hey, and I don't know if you're going to start the show pushing on, right? So it's like stuff like that is like kind of this steeplechase, and that pace doesn't really stop during those times.
When I first saw them perform at the Leisure Center, I was looking at it as an improviser going, I want to play with them. And the first time I guessed it with them and worked out with them in a rehearsal, and Remy was there and had a setup, that's what and what I was like,
It's unusual for an improv group to play with an artist like this. Because it's not just like pressing buttons for sound effects. It's like a totally different, it's a sound design. It's like sound design on the fly, which is such a
what is a
unique-
genre of music and finds a genre of music, he finds a cathedral choir singing an appropriate song from the 90s.
Last night was the marimba band version of Sting's Fields of Barley. Like a marimba version of Fields of Gold, which then he ended the show with Fields of Gold.
Because she said marimba once.
What's the highest number of possible effects and tones that you've downloaded? Was it 60 or something?
Like down.
In one show?
Like
In
Well,
one
no,
show?
I cleared 100 of some of them.
Cleared 100.
Yeah,
And he's just waiting to see.
But
There we go.
Tim, I think sort of the scarier number is I've had probably 35 different effects playing at one time.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys, the point is you
never
should
know.
notice. It should sound
Yeah.
like the sound design for
For a play.
So it needs to be rich and deep and filtered and hit like everything on the equalizer I can. But it should just sort of live there.
Like, he's
Because
building
I
that
shouldn't get
story,
noticed,
yeah.
right? If I get noticed, I've done something wrong. So like your dryer made a sound, and then when it switched in the spin cycle happened to you after you hit this button over here. So all of a sudden that's why this was making mistakes, was because the dryer, you hadn't realized was making the sound, and then I had to justify that. But the point is, the point is like, if you notice the sound effects instead of noticing the show, I kind of made a mistake.
There was this one time when somebody's phone went off in the audience. It was like a ringtone, and we incorporated it into the it turned out to be one of the characters' phones. Like we justified that audience member's phone as one of our phones. And then of course Remy finds that ringtone and kept playing it. It's so important that he's not just a sound designer, he's an improviser. He's like improvising it with that as the medium is like such a
He's listening just as hard as you all are listening.
Oh,
to
it's
that.
brilliant.
He's
Oh,
an
totally.
improviser, exactly.
yeah.
Let us, after this, please, I have to tell someone a story. My favorite story I wasn't there for, and it involves Remy. And just remember, ask me about mariachi. Oh, God.
I know you have to take other questions, but I just want to
No.
ask, I know all of you teach. Do you teach?
I don't really. I probably should have apprenticed instead of teaching. Well, because it's like
How do you
to
teach that?
do a class for that is like, okay, can the four of you come and hang out for a
First of all,
or
yes.
whatever? But that's a really good question, and I should figure out how to do
Be
it.
a good idea. I think we probably should.
Wrap it up. It's 10
Yeah, there's just one more question.
From someone who didn't already ask a question, we can take one more. Yeah.
I just want to know that as you're going through your scene building a character, I've noticed that you guys kind of play off each other like someone else is completely out of nowhere character for somebody else's character to be and go into it. How often is that? Like, how often is that in the show versus you coming up with your own characters and a lot?
Yeah, it's really mutual. You're choosing some things about yourself. Other people are endowing you with traits that you have. That's always true in improv. In this format, because we're only going to play one character, we're very careful when somebody comes in. We do not endow them first because they have an idea of why they came in. So they always endow themselves. We don't go, oh, you're so-and-so. That doesn't work in this format. But all the characteristics that a character has, you give them some stuff and you choose some stuff. You have to be okay with it both ways. Anything else to say about that? Yeah. It's fun. It's fun.
Super fun.
When somebody's really good, that, like her character halfway through, somebody goes, when you were in prison, and he's going, oh, my character was in prison. That's fun. I wonder what I did. Now I have to decide what I did. I mean, it's really fun to endow and also get to choose for yourself.
And you have to build, like, these are the right people to play with. And it's not always that way, right? Like, it's fun to have that kind of,
There's a lot of practice.
without a lot of trust when they have to hand you a fortune cookie.
That was fun from the Bible.
I should have just read it myself.
My dad was looking for heaven. What were all those little cards for, son?
Bible flashcards?
Yes. Yes.
If we didn't answer your question, see if you can grab us and ask right now. We want to thank you so much for coming.